And welcome to Still Talking Uncut. I'm your host, Big Easy, joined by my man, Mr. Established Author now, Christopher Allen of the Moonshine Apprentice. The book's live. You can buy it. You can get it in Kindle format, ebook. You can get it in hard paperback. The paperback's real nice. Sean, show them your paperback. Look, that thing ain't even got no creases in it because he ain't even opened it yet. Preserving it. He's preserving it like an old comic book. I dig it. I dig it. He can't read anyways. Joined by Sean Rigsby, Uncle Joey. Uncle Joey, man.
On time.
Early, thanks to me, like usual. Anyways, what you tipping over there, Uncle Joey?
Well, I must be a really good papaw because my granddaughter's daddy bought me a bottle of Weller 12 for Christmas. So I must be doing something okay when I have the girls over here. So I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, they don't have them. They don't have them. It don't matter what you do. They don't have them.
I'm going to do a little side-by-side. I'm going to pop into a little Knob Creek 12 when I'm done with this. Kind of see what they compare to each other. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Uncle Joey's the only one drinking tonight. Fucking lush.
Oh, well. I'm the union steward at my job, and if you dealt with some of the shit that I deal with, you would drink too.
Hey buddy. Come to work with Phil.
I get you, bro. I get you. I feel you.
Oh, shit. That was a good day. Anyways, last time we had Mr. Allen on last year, I believe, or maybe the year before. We had him on before, and then, he was working hard on I think he was just getting into it. You didn't. I don't know how far you was into the book first time we had you on, but I know that you've put some hard work in on that thing, man. So it was really cool to watch you go from an idea, because I remember you asking, just asking about, like, should I, what should I, or how's, just divulging your information over time, and you just built and you built and you built, and now all of a sudden there's this masterpiece that we can purchase. And like you said, I haven't got a chance to get into it yet. Well, I don't have a copy yet. I gotta get my copy. But that's right. I did get to read a couple of the chapters before you put it out. You sent me the rum chapters and all that, and it's just like, dude, it's amazing to actually see all your hard work come to fruition. So congratulations on that for sure.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it took way longer than I thought. I mean, I remember talking to you at Farm to Bottle about it. I think that was the first one, the first Farm to Bottle.
Yeah.
And I thought when I was talking to you that I was almost done. I thought I was getting close, maybe a few more months, something like that. And it's 3 years later now. So it was definitely it was one of those things where it seemed like the end was always in sight, and it never was.
It's just like when you're trying to perfect your craft or your certain recipe, man. It's just never good enough. It's never good enough before you hand it in. And this is more than just handing it in. This is releasing your work to the world. So if there's a mistake, it's there, or
right.
if you look back on it and there's something wrong, then you can't really change it. It's, like you've paid to print all these copies and everything else that you've had to go through. So yeah, definitely, it's the fact that you did all that in 3 years, let alone, I imagine some people it'd take 5 to 10 years to release something like that. So it doesn't matter how long it took you to get there. What you created was an amazing manual. Like it is definitely a manual for your beginner to learn from, or even somebody more advanced to solidify things that they have done, or even to learn new things along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the things that was important to me was to make sure that I had plenty of things in there for, folks who were more experienced. I think, I definitely wanted to make it something that would be good for a beginner to read. And so that I devoted the first 2 chapters to that really, was to the beginner. But after that, the design was hopefully going to be appealing to people who have put some years in already. I was one of those kind of readers. I really based it on my own experience, because I've got a ton of books. I've got an absolute ton of books, closets full of books, and a lot of them were great books, but those great books were written by people in the beer and wine category. And I kept, as I was going through and getting disappointed with books that were aimed more at what we do, and I was really frustrated by that. And to be honest with you, I was a little jealous of the beer and wine guys, because they've got some fabulous stuff out there.
There's definitely a huge culture. A lot of money goes into that. So there's a lot more there. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more socially acceptable. Everybody makes beer. Like there people that make beer at home far outweigh the number of people that distill at home. So you can see why that community is a lot bigger, which means it's bigger. So everything is bigger. Everything about it.
Well, and let's be honest, it's bigger, but at the same time, this community is a little more hush-hush at the same time. So maybe that's another reason why there isn't all that info out there. A lot of guys don't want to put that info out there, or put the fact that they do that, some of the things that they do. So I don't know. I think it's awesome that Chris, somebody recent, like you said, it was a lot of just information that just wasn't, there was a lot of just not real good information. And you're the type of guy, when I watched from the very beginning, some of your very early videos, you are very enthusiastic and you want to help and want to show people the right way and just the proper things to do. And just, you can tell you're passionate about wanting to share your knowledge with everybody out there. Yeah,
I think it's really important to have something that you enjoy, and something that it's not just something to do. It's also something to learn. It's also something to grow from, and moonshine's perfect for that. Because you can do it all, and then you end up with moonshine in the end. How can you complain about that?
You're right.
Or if it's not very good, you've got some hand sanitizer and table cleaner.
Right?
There's always ways to make it good. You know what I'm saying? There are no failed runs. You know what I'm saying? Just sometimes you got to run it again, or you got to do a little something to it. Like there's always a way.
Something in there.
That's right.
Right.
You'll figure it out.
So go back to the early beginnings. I mean, how far back do you think it was when you first started showing interest in learning about distillation?
Oh, I was probably late 30s, I think, and I started off. I'm a late comer to the internet. I don't know why. I just was late comer to the internet, so I'm off there by myself. And I started making whiskey. Terrible whiskey, but hey, it was how you get started like that. But
once you're drunk, you have no idea how terrible anything is. Once you reach that level,
it doesn't matter anymore.
You have no idea how terrible it is.
And let's be honest, if you've got some really good buddies, some really close family members, it's good anyway. They're not going to tell you it's bad. They're going to sit right there with you, and they're going to drink it, and they're going to enjoy it with you.
Unless it's like really, really bad. Like when it turns people's face, like, oh my God, like there's a difference. But for the most part, like it's not hard to make a decent jar of liquor,
right?
Anymore with all the resources we have at our fingertips, all the videos, all the schools you have. There's private schools now that you can, it's just private. It's just you and a big group of people. And, and it's completely private, but you get all your information here as opposed to like a Facebook group where you go in and like say a Facebook group has like 300 or 400 or even 1,000 members. There's going to be a lot of people in there just busting your balls over no reason when you're trying to learn. And there's a time for ball busting and a time for not ball busting. And when I'm trying to learn, it's not a time to bust my balls. Unless you're my buddies, that's way different.
Yeah,
it's always a time to bust my balls. But like when you're in a new group with people and you're trying to learn, you're put off by that because you're trying to get the right answer. You don't know what the right answer is. So there are things I know. Sean's coming out with I believe it's an extension of the Institute that allows you to have a more privatized group. To where you can ask your questions. You're only going to get answers from guys like me and Sean and you'll have guys like Uncle Joey to add to the question, like, oh, well, what about this? Because I'm green, I'm new, and I want to know this question. And so like, it's definitely a smaller, more tight knit community where you can ask your questions and feel comfortable that you're going to get the right answer every single time as quickly as possible. So it's really cool to see that, everything at our fingertips now allows us to start from nothing and advance really, really fast as opposed to like, before COVID or even 10 years ago, it was kind of figure it out, buddy. Figure it out. Watch George and then figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
And that's like Chris said, there wasn't a lot of good information out there. You know what I mean? There was info, but it was kind of just what it was. So, it's cool that you took all that and said, look, I'm going to make it better. So I think your book is definitely, that's a big book, man. It looks like there's a lot of info in that book.
How many pages is it?
700 and
did you say it was over 1,000 in the Word doc or whatever?
It's over 1,000 and on the Kindle version. That
nice.
It reformatted it. So that one's got a couple minor little kinks in the Kindle formatting part of it. They're not that big of a deal, but something's going to have to be done there.
Those Kindles are really small. Yeah. Those things are tiny.
Now, I'd imagine, it's a lot of it is like recipes. You said you got 300 plus recipes. So I'd imagine that you have pages dedicated to certain recipes.
Yeah, I've got the recipe section in the very back of the book. I'm not sure exactly how many pages that comes out to be. But, with the way that I wrote the book, I was hoping that people would look at the recipes not just as, individual recipes, but also as, ways of kind of understanding the style a little bit better and understanding how other people have been creative inside of a style. The recipe section, each recipe is what it is. So that's great. But I wanted the recipes together to be more than that, to help people be creative and see how other people have done it.
Any recipe that anybody puts out on video in a book, it is just it's a jumping off point for somebody. It's not a hey, do it like this. It's a hey, watch how I do this, and then figure your way out, and figure out how you're going to do it, because you're not going to do it like I am. You might be like, man, I'm doing that easier. I'm not doing that. I'm not jumping. That's not me. But like you said, it's like when you read the recipes in the back of the book, it gives you how the style goes. Like you get a lot of people, they don't understand how to make a true bourbon. Like, oh, well, how much corn do I have to use? Well, go look up a bourbon recipe in the back of the book, and it will tell you need this percentage of corn. After that, do whatever you want, but you need this much corn to make a true whatever you need to make, or you need this much fruit to make a true brandy, which is 100%. But it's saying, or you can always hillbilly brandy it up, or
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? That's how we get it done. We can't afford 800 pounds to make a 10-gallon match. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just the way it is. So like it's really comforting to hear you say like the recipes in the back are just guidelines for you to learn from. And And
Well, I
that
wanted to, there were techniques in some of the recipes that I never did sneak into the book. So I snuck them into the recipes, like into the main section of the book. So I just give people little gems to find back there while they're reading, I guess. But, that was actually the basis of how I structured things, because when I go back to how I actually learned to make moonshine in the very beginning, is it all started from a recipe. And so each one of the chapters starts off with a recipe, because I think that's the best way to get started on explaining it.
know what we're making before we get in, so you understand what we're talking about as we go. That's a solid. That's a solid. Grab your eyes and like, oh, we're going to make this. Like if I'm going to make a cake, I want to see what cake we're making, so I know how good it's supposed to. It ain't going to look like at the end, but I want to know what it's supposed to look like. Let's make it. So yeah,
So,
that's a great draw.
what part of the process do you feel needs the most attention as far as information? Do you feel like when you were looking at the information out there, was there a missing piece? Was it just not good information in general, or you know what I mean? What did you find? What did you see that you felt like, man, I could do better? What
Well, I think there's actually a lot of things that I came to understand better as I was going on. But I think I can actually think of a couple things right off the top of my head, like how cuts are made. I was kind of somewhat confused about that for actually a longer time than I want to admit. And things like that I wanted to address in the book.
Okay.
And then, things like fermentation. I mean, fermentation's where the real magic actually is mostly happening there.
It's
you can ruin it. you can ruin all of that later if you want.
you can ruin it from the beginning and not know till later. It's first. It's your fermentation is your foundation.
And it's crazy. A lot of people fail to realize that. Like they get ahead of themselves. I feel like they want to get so far into it, they really fail to realize they can fuck it all up right off the rip with their starting gravity is not where it should be, or it's too low or too high. There's a lot of things that if it's not right from the beginning, the end result is shit. So
yeah,
you're 100% correct on fermentation is a big deal.
Well, the cool thing about fermentation is that's where you've got a lot of your levers, I guess. I didn't call it that in the book or anything, but the way that you've got different controls with fermentation, and you've got so much influence over your product that way. With fermentation, I think a lot of people look at fermentation as throwing your yeast in and just waiting for it to be done. And I get that. I think we probably all started off looking at it kind of like that too. But as you get into it, and you want to create something specific and you want to achieve specific flavors, the fermentation is it's the key. And I think that's one of the areas that really hadn't gotten a lot of attention in the past.
Well, and you actually just posted something today from, I think, your book that really, it was interesting to me on the temperature. What the temperature that you ferment at plays a big part of your fermentation flavors.
Right. Well, see, something like that, that post, it literally in minutes, you can start to realize how things like that can really influence the product. I mean, if you're making a rum, you're going to want a lot of character in that, but if you're making it, like I don't know, maybe a delicate brandy, you're not going to want that character at all. Yeah. So those types of things are important to make it easy for people to learn instead of learning long and hard.
I think you really understand when you get into the yeast, like you said, how your temperatures affect things. Like you said, a stronger, a hotter ferment is going to be could lead to more robust, more characteristic flavors, like traditional tequilas fermented at 95 degrees. And it's like we could never imagine dumping bread yeast on some corn and fermenting that shit at 95 degrees, unless it's middle of the summer and that's what happens. Because what are you going to do? But like you really understand, like, oh well, it's cold outside. Well, there's different yeast for different things, and and it's kind of like your house. Happy wife, happy life. Well, happy yeast, happy mash, happy ferment, happy liquor. You like you really get into it, and you really start understanding that if my yeast is fermenting and consuming normally, like peacefully, like when we sit down to eat, we can stuff our faces and get in and out, or we can eat gradually and we can enjoy our meal and savor it. And we don't feel like so much shit afterwards. And if we went to the buffet and hammered it down and, and ate like pigs. So like, we're no different, and they're no different. If the environment's great for them and they feed and they produce smoothly, of course it could lead to a much better and much smoother product and keep things happy, So rabbit holes. That's definitely a rabbit hole that everybody needs to venture down is yeast. And dive deep and be upset when you're 3 weeks in, like, man, I did a complete circle and then I made another U-turn and it's just what it is, man. And you'll be happy you did. So
and I know you guys, I've heard you guys all say there, you can, if there's almost specific yeast for specific things, and it really does make a difference. If you're, like you guys talk about making brandies, if you're putting the time and you're really putting a little bit of money in a brandy, you're probably going to use a little different yeast. You know what I mean? It just depends on what you're really trying to get out of it, I guess, at the end result.
Or who you are.
Right.
What you like. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of people like bread yeast for brandies. Some people don't.
Yeah, some people won't drink corn liquor that ain't made with bread yeast. It's what they know. It's what their palate knows.
Well, and I know in some of these groups I've seen, I've heard some of the guys talk about how they use some of the yeast that are made for wines and to make some of their brandies.
Usually the Lauvins, like the 71Bs or the BM 4x4s. Usually they ferment soft because they're wine yeast.
Yeah.
You could always get in, and a lot of people say the EC 1118, which is more of a champagne style yeast.
Right.
That it eats. You know what I'm saying? That stuff's going to eat anything pretty much you throw in it. And so you said there's a difference, man. You try them all. You get your hands on them, try them, because you never know what you're going to. I fell in love with bread yeast just because I like the notes, I like the simplicity of it, I like the fact that the temp ranges can be from pretty high to very low, and it still works just fine. It doesn't seem like it's
for Ohio.
Of course, or even up in Michigan,
right?
Like it just gets colder as you leave here. So,
right,
you got to find out what works for you.
Yeah,
and if you're happy with it, then roll with it.
I think using a wide variety of yeast is a great idea. I mean, I've got a whole little section in my refrigerator downstairs. It needs updated, but it's got jam packed full of all types of different yeast. And when you talk about bread yeast, that's one of those things. Once upon a time, when I didn't really know, a whole lot about different things, I thought bread yeast sounded like a terrible idea. But bread yeast can really bring in some flavor. Bread yeast can really bring in some, that bread notes for one. But bread and honey notes you can get from bread yeast, and I've known some people who are really knowledgeable, and they that's probably what broke me from the bad habit of thinking it was a terrible idea. Some people who are really knowledgeable who. Bread yeast was one of their main things. So, I also, if you're going to make something traditional American moonshine, bread yeast is likely to be involved if you really want to get that, that historical type of flavor.
If it ain't natural, then more than likely it was bred, because they didn't have Datey, they didn't have EC1118. You know what I'm saying? They had stuff to make bread with. Like, oh, what do we make? They had sourdough starters that they cultured and they kept alive, and and whatever would eat. And they knew how to propagate it from everything. But like you said, it's what they had. They had bread. They had bread yeast. They had the ability to make it, and like hell, you can create it with some flour and water and let it sit, and whatever you got to do to create yeast, and it's not hard. So,
right. Well, I think yeast is one of those is another one of those things that it doesn't always get enough attention. I think the different things that yeast are capable of, like for instance, producing extra glycerin to make a thicker mouthfeel, things like that. That yeast are that's a fun subject all by itself.
oh my, hell, you could have wrote a 300-page book just on yeast and not even scratch the surface. Like, it's just, it is definitely something. It is definitely something.
I guess wild, like you said, about mouthfeel. It is wild how certain things definitely bring a different mouthfeel, a different texture.
That's another thing that I don't think gets a lot of attention. Mouthfeel. That can the flavor is one thing. Your mouthfeel in your body, that's a whole another characteristic, but it really influences how you, I guess, perceive that particular product. I guess that particular
Yeah. I know I stumbled upon oats, and that's what I got was a mouthfeel. The oats had a nice, smooth mouthfeel. Yeah. So I know it's something moving forward. I'm going to dabble with some oats a lot more. I'm going to incorporate. And I think I like that mouthfeel because I'm a bourbon drinker. And I think a lot of that bourbon has a viscous or a mouthfeel to it. And I enjoy that in my liquor. And it kind of carried over. The first time I ever drank some Shine that had a nice viscosity or a nice mouthfeel, I was like, whoa, that I like that. So that's something that I'm going to use a lot more of.
What you see in a lot of these mass-produced bourbons are you always see natural flavors added, natural and artificial flavors. Well, a trick a lot of people use to smooth out their liquor is a couple drops of glycerin, because it gives you that mouthfeel. It coats your mouth, like how we got a buddy, the glycerin champ. But like, so when they make the flavors they add to them, it's always going to have a little bit of glycerin in it, man. And so it definitely changes the flavor profiles and the mouthfeels for consistency, because in the Big Giant is consistency. Because I think you should make some and get you a little bit of glycerin and put you a drop in, and just so you can see personally how just that little bit of glycerin changes the alcohol so much because of what it does to your palate and inside your mouth. And so, like Christopher was talking about, using your yeast to make a better mouthfeel is going to make a better liquor.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to do and to learn with the, and with that yeast. I did put a whole big giant section in there about yeast. I really debated about it because yeast strains, over the time I've been in moonshine, yeast strains can actually come and go. It depends on market demand, really. So availability. But I thought if I don't put a lot about different yeast strains in there, I'm not representing how important that is and the different things that yeast can do. So even if in the future, some of the yeast strains that I have in there, if they no longer exist at that time, that the person will still, be able to get a wide variety of ideas about things that yeast can do.
So how far into making Shine did you really discover that yeast were a big deal? Did you say it was later on, or did you did you find out early on that it did make a difference?
I'd have to say it was, maybe a little bit early on, but not really. I would have to say it was probably later on, because I think in the beginning, I really do. I think I probably really more thought of yeast as yeast.
You
As
were
EC, 1118 or whatever, throw that in there and no problem every time, right? And so, I think I experimented here and there some, but I don't think I experimented in the right way to appreciate what different yeast can bring to the table. That was later on.
well, like you said, you covered it. You've got a pretty big section in your book on yeast, so that's awesome right there in itself. That you should be able to answer a lot of people's questions or give them more information at least.
Right, and ideas of things that they might look for. One of the main things in the book that I really wanted to make sure I did not do is really enter my opinion on. Well, I tried to keep my opinion out altogether, but especially on different types of things, because everybody's got somewhat different taste buds, and and if we're drinking, I want you to enjoy what you enjoy. And if you're making things from the book, I don't want to influence somebody's perception on what could be good for them. So that was a big key thing that I wanted to keep out of there, but I did want to put in all of the different choices that you could have, to reflect all the different variety of things that maybe we would have liked to have known in the beginning and didn't.
So I know you said you gave Big Easy a little bit to read. Did you hand out several of those to people? Were you giving those out to make sure what you were doing was, or did you pretty much, you knew what you were doing was what needed to be out? You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't even reply to him because it was just fantastic and I had nothing to say. He sent it to me. I read it and was like, I have nothing to say to the man because what am I going to say?
Right.
Well, you could definitely tell if the rest of the book went the way that the rum section that I was honored enough to see before everybody else. You knew that what the whole thing was going to be all about, and so he sent it, and I read it, and I read it again, and I read it a few times, and it was just like, dude, this is amazing. And so I'm still waiting on Sean to send me one for Christmas. He said he was going to, but
yeah, you'll have to read the final version of the rum chapter.
Yeah.
Well, I sent different things out to different people that I thought might be, good people to read those particular things. It was obviously, you can see the book. I mean, that's way too much to. Would you read this whole thing?
Oh no! Right.
If you'd have sent it,
Yeah, right. So I divided it up. Different people that I thought were particularly. Either good for that or particularly knowledgeable about something. I mean, those are the right people to read those sections and get some input. So I wanted to have other eyes on it. If you're stuck entirely in your own head, you're starting to write it just for you. At that point. So I want to make sure that it was, something that other people thought was quality teaching material.
That you were giving out good information, just not your version of information.
Right. Or sometimes I see now one of the reasons it took took a long time is because I go down rabbit holes. I love a good old rabbit hole. And I had to cut a bunch of things like that out. Maybe I'll make a book of rabbit holes someday. I mean, that might be fun, but
3,000-page book.
Hey, you could always come out with another volume,
Right.
I'll tell you that the thing about all the older books that we've all come accustomed to being able to read, a lot of things have changed in the last 4 to 5 years. A lot of things have changed, with techniques and new ideas. They've just exploded And so, like, yes, the old traditional ways are there. They're tried and true. They will always work. I love the old traditional way, but it's very important that the new ways, and like with all the different yeast strains he was talking about, the shooters and the infusers on thumpers, the evolution of thumper jars, and just the evolution of thumpers in general. It's just everything is a lot different nowadays with how we ferment, how easy it is to ferment, as opposed to how they did it back in the day. So it's like it was something that was needed that to bring the information from that's exploded over the last 5 or 6 years into fruition too. So, again, it was a much needed thing.
Well, I think it's neat just me learning and looking back and seeing some of the original equipment, and like when you go to Indian Creek, that style how they run, and then you see some of these newer contraptions with the jar rigs and all this crazy stuff. The amount of infusion that can be done now, infusion is a big. That's probably one of the bigger things I think that I've seen that is really fascinating, intriguing, is how you can really infuse flavor into just some plain old corn liquor. It's wild.
That's something I need to get more into. You guys are actually look like you've been doing a lot of different things like that. No, well, I'll have to collaborate with you on that a little bit. I want to give some of those things a try.
Oh, I know. I've played around with it and just even surprised myself on what you can pull just on adding certain things to a jar thumper, and the end result, it's pretty wild, man. So it's definitely something I think for the future of the distillation. You see a lot of guys, there's a lot of jar rigs out there. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's thumpers, dumping flavors in. So it's definitely cool to see a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we could all thank Mr. Gibson for the jar thumpers and their explosion onto the home distiller scene. We never forget about the Godfather, Sean's dad. One of them. Yeah.
Damn, I got 4 daddies if that's the case.
No, not daddies. There's your dad. Why you got to make it all weird? Oh, you like what you like.
Yeah, no shaming.
Now,
if I didn't go there, you would go there. So I'm just getting it out of the way.
My man, you run a group on Facebook, right? What's it called?
Time for a New Shine?
Yes. And I know what it's called. What you say? And so, like, for the past few years, you would post questions on there, and all these people would answer with what their opinions and their ways. And I loved that because I would just go in and read. Sometimes you're like, holy shit, I don't know about that. But
right. Yeah, for sure.
But like it was really cool. Just like you put up a question, and it wasn't in your group, it wasn't any of the pretentious bullshit. It was just everybody, I do it like this, I do it like that. Here's how I would do it. And a lot of people agreed in the same ways, but they had different techniques. And so, like, that's what I really enjoyed about you writing your book was, you would ask questions because who better to ask the people that do it at home,
right?
People that do it on a small level who have burnt themselves and blown stuff up and had great successes. And so who better to ask, and like you said, and we talk about, it's all about little things, little pieces here and there. So I really enjoy that in your group. And you still do it. Like, there's still questions that you're asking. And so if you want a group that you can really learn a lot from different ways of different people, then that group is a really good one to be in. And just the questions that Christopher asks leads to great discussions in there and a lot of knowledge being passed around.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things about the groups is there's so many, incredibly knowledgeable people. There's so many talented people in the groups. And one of the things that technique, I guess, that I learned earlier on with the groups was, asking the questions is a great way to draw out, knowledge from, a bunch of different people, put that together and, see different ways, different ideas. It's, when you're able to do that, I mean, the way things are, we're able to talk to people worldwide, and that
Right.
by itself is amazing, to be able to talk to talented people all over the world, and get their opinions, and have them share techniques, and I think the questions in the group. One of the reasons that's been a main format of mine is to draw out that knowledge, instead of having it be from one person, have it be from many.
Many it always is. Many
Yeah.
it always
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
There's always a like and that's what's cool. Everybody's down to share their experiences and their knowledge, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We're all
Well,
here for each other.
we're the first people who have ever been able to do what we're doing. I mean, we're the first people who've ever been able to collaborate over long distances, for, in this case, moonshine. So, we should be able to be some of the most knowledgeable people of all time, just for that reason alone. Just the access to information, that we have. We've just got to. We're in the stage of drawing that information out of people. That's
Well, and it's really cool. What I've seen is everyone has their own little way. There are some people that feel that their way is the only way, but there are so many people that do just something a little bit different. And, they've tweaked it just their way. And then they'll hand you what they've done, just a little tweak, and you're like, damn. And it's amazing what you'll find, little different nuances, like you said, yeast or sugars or just little different things that they may have tried to use that you've never used that will make you want to use them. Like, damn, I want to try that. After listening to these guys talk about corn sugar, now I want to try using some dextrose. I really want to, try some small batch and use some dextrose, see what I get out of that. So we'll see how that plays out this summer.
Well, that's the beauty of it. I mean, people come up with ideas that I would have never came up with on my own.
Right.
And, when they're kind enough to share those things, it's almost a responsibility to take advantage.
Well, there's definitely a lot of knowledge out there that these guys are willing to share. That's for sure.
Right.
And
Right.
you got people like you that are willing to put it all together and make it one manual that here you go. This is some knowledge, and take it. You know what I mean? Like, and I think once a lot of people start seeing that this book is out there and hear about it a little bit more and hear people talk about it, I think it'll be a big seller, man. I really, really do.
Yeah,
Well,
once
yeah,
people start
I'm-
reading
I'm-
it, and once people start reading it, once Sean sends me my copy, so make sure you sign the copy. Please send it to me.
Sean will sign it for you.
Hell yeah, he will.
So let me ask you this: what is your favorite thing to ferment?
Well, I guess probably whiskey. Whiskey is one of the things that I make the most. I guess that's probably my favorite thing. But I don't know. I mean, things like rum, depending on what you're doing with it, those could be kind of exciting challenges.
Now, have you made a lot of wines? Did you experiment with winemaking before you got into like the moonshine end of distillation?
No, I jumped right into moonshine, I guess, and I mean, I had to learn that relationship between beer and wine over time.
Right. I've heard easy stories about winemaking. They've made wine out of about anything. So I was just curious if you tried some of the shit that he's tried.
That was just for videos. We were just populating YouTube with winemaking videos with anything. It was a ploy, but a lot of people, they start making wine and beer first because it's legal,
Right.
and it's legal, and it's socially acceptable. And like I said, the beer and wine communities are massive. There's so many aficionados who don't actually make anything. They just buy and taste and talk about it because it's the thing to do.
You know what I've noticed though? I've noticed on these Facebook marketplaces, there's a lot of beer making equipment for sale. So I feel like it's kind of taking a downturn. These guys are getting tired of making their beer and they're selling their shit.
Well, I think people make beer, like they get into it and they do all this shit and they make a big 5-gallon mash and they buy all these ingredients. You got to cook, you got to step it. And then at the end, you got a 6-pack to drink and you're like, God damn, I got a 6-pack to drink. Holy shit, I did all that for a 6-pack. And you're like, oh man, that's terrible. And then you run liquor, you run a 10-gallon still. You're like, I got a gallon. Who wants to go to prison? And so there's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
But for some people, they love the art of it. You know, they fall in love with the art of making beer and they hone it and they master it. And then they're like, oh man, I want to try making liquor. And then they usually become great distillers because they've started off. You know, they started with the base. Where some of us, it's like, we're just going to do this as crudely as possible, and then we're making liquor.
Well, you've got guys like me that are getting into it that are fortunate to have guys like you to learn from. I don't have to learn how to make beer. I can jump ahead a little bit and learn how to ferment from you guys. So I think that's what's the advantage of guys like me, guys like you that have done all that shit and paved the way. And now it's easier because I don't have to learn how to do that to do what I'm doing. I can learn how to do what I'm doing by guys that have done it. So I think I'm an advantage, and I feel very fortunate being later in the game. There's so much knowledge out there to reach out to and grasp a hold of.
Well, I think that, it's important that we have everything together, in all types of different forms. I mean, all types of learning goes, together hand in hand to make things, make it easier for people to, get the knowledge that they want in a lot shorter time. And when I started writing the book, I didn't realize I was writing a book. I was writing things for me. I was trying to piece things together and write it down so that that I would have that to go back to, because it was scarce to have things together like that. So that's really how writing the book started for me, as writing it basically for myself, and then when I share things that took me a long time to figure out, but take me 10 minutes to explain, 5 minutes maybe even to explain to somebody else, I guess I could see, wanting to hold that hard-earned knowledge captive, keep it a secret, but it's more fun to let it out and share.
It is more fun. It's
and
how
your videos showed it, man.
So,
the videos you made showed that you had so much fun letting it out, brother. You really did.
Well, I'm going to make some more, actually. I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel. I don't know if I'm really going to do that or not, but I was going to do Moonshine in a Minute on Facebook. Do like little moonshine ones designed to teach, and do those, and it seemed like that might be kind of fun.
Hell yeah! Hey, as long as you have fun.
Yeah, right. As long as I have fun, then I guess I'll do it, right?
Absolutely.
Right. As long as you're enjoying yourself, man, just keep doing what you're doing. It's what it's all about. I mean, realistically, that's how you became a published author. You know what I'm saying? Like, you, by doing what you love to do. Like, you started out with, you love to make, you had a passion and love to make liquor, and then you have a passion to teach, and to show the new guy or to help the seasoned vet, learn a little bit more, because we never stop. We never know it all. We ain't never going to know everything about making moonshine. You never will. And the minute you do, you might as well retire, because,
it'll stop being fun.
Yeah.
First minute you know it all, there's no fun left to be had anymore.
And so, it's awesome that you took your love into such a work. It is a life of work. 3 years on something. on is a lifetime for most of us, especially as we get older, we age in dog years. So hell, it might as well have been 10. So, he said it's congratulations, man. And if you don't have a copy, I've been sharing a link to straight to Amazon. You can get it from Amazon. You can get the hard copy sent to you. You can get the Kindle copy. You never know. There might end up being an audio copy. You might hear my big voice reading 700 pages to you. That want to be cheap, Anyway,
Lots of breaks.
no, that's what editing's for.
Yeah,
lots of breaks
Big
for
Easy.
you.
Big Easy ripping his vape pen off in the back lights in between.
That's a break for you too, so you can take a break also. Thinking about you.
Absolutely. Well, tell everyone real quick where they can get your book at one more time, Chris. How is it just available on Amazon? Will it be in any local bookstores, or is it just strictly an online a sale right now?
Yeah, it's strictly online through Amazon right now. It might actually, it's got a possibility to venture into some bookstores. There's a setup for that for like bulk orders, but as of right now, it's Amazon is the place to go. You can actually just Google the Moonshine Apprentice, and it pops up. It's #1. I like that.
Will you have copies to sell anywhere you're at like Farm to Bottle? Will you have copies there to sell while you're there?
I was thinking about renting a booth. I was thinking about going to some festivals I've never gone to too.
Yeah.
And I figure if I go to those, because I love meeting the people. I love talking to, you were there. It's a good time. Meeting everybody, people you talk to online and, meeting everybody there. So I was thinking about doing that, but I thought, if I'm going to do that, maybe I should just rent a booth and try to make some money at the same time as meet people and make money.
Or listen, you might want to talk to some of these guys. Maybe they'll let you split a booth and you wouldn't have to go all in on some of these booths. You could sit with somebody and kind of split the booth.
Yeah, you definitely got to bring some copies to Farm to Bottle, or we all go to these things and set up. I'm going to be missing a lot of them this year.
Absolutely.
But so if you're going to be at Farm to Bottle, put it out there, man. You get a lot of people like, I want a copy, bring me a copy. So maybe you could, buy it off you in person. That way you could sign it for me and, sign bad shit about Sean or whatever.
I don't blame you. I'd do it too.
Who do we got on next week, Uncle Joey?
Let me look real quick.
We got Rod Sargent from Drop Zone Distillery on next week.
Oh, so why'd you ask?
And then the following week after that, we got what is it? Jeffrey Anderson.
Jeff Anderson. Yep.
All right.
We got a full month, and then Ryan Ezra I think he's from North Carolina. He reached out to Sean, and he wants to come on and talk liquor.
Nice. Hey, ever since we got Uncle Joey on, man, our guest list has been pretty nice, man.
I've been putting in some work.
I can't believe our other podcast was such a piece of shit. Wouldn't let you schedule anybody to be on and kicked you off.
Yeah, they didn't want to do what we do, man.
Fucking pieces of shit.
Now, come on, guys. Let's get...
Oh, that's interesting that Ryan's coming. Yeah, Ryan. That'll be interesting. I guess. I'll have to. I'm usually like an early to bed guy. I go to bed like 8:30.
But fortunately, you can catch us later on, Chris. We're on YouTube, Spotify. We're on all of them.
Yeah, you can listen to us. You can watch us.
I would prefer. You could probably want to listen to us.
I would think you'd be able to view the series in the Institute Sean's got going on, but I'd imagine not. But all right, man. I'm done fucking with Sean.
Oh, you're good.
Chris, we really appreciate
yes, sir. We appreciate you, man.
We really do. You're an awesome individual. I enjoyed the very first time I ever met you at Farm to Bottle. You rolled out of your car and we shook hands and talked, and I can't say anything bad about you, dude. You're a wonderful human being, man. You really are.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, yeah, we've all had a good time together. But Farm to Bottle was it's a great place. I'll be there again.
It's an
forward
experience.
to
It's
seeing
definitely
you.
a bonding experience where a lot of knowledge is passed freely, and so is a lot
Yeah.
of jars and joints passed freely too. So
Yeah.
a lot of passing freely there, man. It's a great time, and people come, and it's just all about camaraderie, man. And we all just sharing what we love to do with each other.
That's right. Well, you got
Absolutely.
to camp. I think camping is an important part of it.
Yeah, bring stuff so you're comfortable, or just bring a zero gravity chair like Sean.
Yeah.
Or you could bring
Joey and I just pass out on it.
You could bring a coffin tent that Matt brought for somebody. This thing was the smallest little coffin tent. I couldn't imagine getting in that thing.
I looked at that thing. I was like, no.
No, ain't no way, man. Ain't no way. So, all right. Well, y'all have a great night, Christopher. Well, if you want to come back on for Farm to Bottle and let people know they can get your book, man, we'll have you on. We'll do a big pre-Farm to Bottle show. We're gonna have on. We'll have on Dan and Jason Davis, and anybody that's coming to Farm to Bottle and wants to be like, hey, I'm gonna be here. Y'all come check it out, and we'll get with Uncle Joey, and we'll just get everybody on, man. Let's put out an call and have a hell of a Farm to Bottle show.
Chris.
So.
Oh, great to be here. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll look forward to that. I'll do the Farm to Bottle one too. Jump in.
Hell yeah. All right, so you're right. Even Still Valley wouldn't have fit in that little coffin size one. And that dude's like half a person. So y'all have a great night, man. We love all y'all. Shine on. See you next week.